Master Rose.
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast. I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Glow. And I'm Kyle. And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners. John 8 on deck. After this, guys, we are one chapter away from Clash of Kings being...
Last one.
Dunzo.
One more. Yep, last one.
One
See,
more
I didn't look. I
chapter.
saw it was Bran.
Yep.
I will spoil that.
That's why we didn't. That's one of the main reasons I didn't want you to read ahead was
Oh.
because Bran was
Is
dead.
he supposed to be dead? Yeah, but we know that.
Yeah, we've known for a few chapters. Yeah.
But no, there was another thing I was going to say. Oh, don't forget, you did want to do a full book.
Yeah.
So we have two more podcasts
Two more.
after this, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And I was interested because I knew we were getting to the end. I looked up. Take a guess. When you guys think we recorded the prologue? I don't know when we recorded. When do you think the prologue aired?
April of 2020.
21.
It was 21. It was 21, but it was in
June?
July. Yep.
Oh,
Kyle was close.
So,
Almost a year and a half. Yeah, 15-ish months
oh my God.
for a book.
What are we doing?
for the record, Glow's not here tonight. I know that was convincing in the opening, but
Yeah, I guess 2020 would have been a long time, but good golly. All right, Kyle. So, Kyle, what's your thoughts on John 8 here tonight?
man, I don't know. I don't like this one. I don't like that they made him kill Corrin already. Obviously, he knew, right? But
Yeah.
I feel like this guy had a lot to teach him, and now he's gone. But I mean, he told him a lot here, right?
Yeah, everyone just loses their mentors.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably something you didn't see. Did you see it? Did you have any idea?
I mean, I knew Corrin thought he was going to die, right? So I don't know that it was going to be Jon the whole time, but it was like, damn, he's going to die the whole time. Like, shit's getting bleak. Like, bleaker and bleaker. It's pretty obvious.
There's some theories that Jeff and I have been talking about, like in some of the John chapters in the spoiler sections, and Glow, I guess, for the earlier ones, that I feel like, Jeff, we might be able to talk with Kyle now, at this point. Do you know what I'm referencing? Specifically to the John story arc in this book that we've been talking about in spoiler sections.
I would definitely say one has to be that the dude's an eagle now, right?
Yeah, so that's part of one thing, yep. But there's like a big one that deals with Corrin that I feel like we can probably talk to Kyle about. I'm thinking about it in my head. I'm hoping for an okay.
Corrin,
Like, yeah, it sounds
all
good.
right, so the big thing is, I think we can. I mean, you remember how when Corrin was like, all right, I'm going on this mission, like, who should I take? And it was like, oh, you have Ned's bastard. Like,
Oh, he's coming.
I'm taking him, right?
Yeah.
However it was worded, right?
And again, like, it's one of the things like we don't think about because he's like, it's like a book and he's one of the like POV characters. So obviously you're going to pick Jon. He's going to be the one to go on the adventure, but he is a 14-year-old boy and like there's 300 Rangers here. Like
Somebody has to be better.
there's got to be a better. Yeah. So like, why are we picking Jon? There's like, it seems like Corrin picked him because he knows he's Ned's bastard and he knows the wolf. There's also some weird stuff Corrin does where like when they're actually in the Frostfangs looking for people, right? Jon has the dream where he's like Ghost and Ghost sees some stuff, but Ghost gets attacked by an eagle and Corrin's like, okay, let's push forward. We got to push forward. But as soon as they get Ghost, he's like, okay, let's turn around. So it's like, why is Corrin risking everybody, like 5 Rangers' lives for one wolf to like, and there's a theory that like he kind of wanted Jon to go over. Like the whole thing was about like somehow getting a man inside. There's like a theory that this was what Corrin was up to. And he knew that because Ned was like, Jon was Ned's bastard, he might have this sympathy with the wildlings, right? Ygritte tells him this story of like, oh, we have the same blood, right? Not that Jon would feel anything on that side, but they might be more willing to accept him. He's a newer recruit, so they also might be more willing to believe that he's like a turncloak because he hasn't been in the watch.
He's a young kid. He hasn't
no
done all the
allegiance.
battles of what a Night's Watchman goes through.
And kind of just like in general, Corrin, we hear that Corrin's like a badass commander, but like this mission is we're going to be sneaky, go into the Frostfangs, find out information, and come back. And they go into the Frostfangs, they don't find anything out, and then they die or get caught. Like, it just doesn't add up with like he's a great commander and he just fails miserably in this mission. So again, like there's no really confirmation.
That was a little circumstantial stuff, but
yeah, I mean things could just go bad, right? And there's no like real answer to this. It's one of like a theory because Corrin's dead, so we never know what he's gonna do. But I mean, maybe we find out somehow because like right there's two. We know Eben's dead. Again, I'm kind of jumping around before we go through the chapter. We know Eben's dead, but there's 2 more guys who like were off and were pretty much assumed dead, I guess. Well, one of them isn't even assumed
Stone
dead.
Snake.
Yeah, and whoever they left to shoot arrows, right, at the end of the last John chapter, they left someone behind. I think Squire
Dalbridge.
But he had no, I thought Squire was taking the run back to...
No, he's the one that was in the pass.
Yeah, he's the one who climbed with John because he's a good climber. Okay. I think that's Stone Snake. And yeah, so Squire stayed behind, and they said they like heard a hunting horn, and they knew he was dead. But we don't see, like, they don't pull his head out, so maybe he's not dead.
Stone Snake died, right?
Exactly. So again, there's a chance that we may be one of these characters. I think at least one of those guys.
To be fair, I don't remember at all. So.
I think like even to where we're at, like I think like there's a chance that these characters are still just like out there somewhere, and that they might show up and like we find out about like what Corrin was actually up to. But for the most part, it's like what was up.
That Stone Snake has an opportunity to be alive.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's like
Let's jump in. All right, so John is commanded to build a fire. Which, like, at this point, it was like fire, not good. Like, we're not.
Well, they're being hunted. Yeah.
So at this point, John's thinking that this is bad, right? And so it goes back in time. There's a few pages here that go back in time for a little bit, but it starts off with them building this fire, and then it comes back to it later. And to your point, right here, John's thinking like, oh yeah, Corrin's given up on us. Like if we're building the fire, that means game over. But we find out not really. He uses this fire as like a decoy to double back. Right? Yeah, that's what this fire ends up being. So Corrin. Which again, like maybe he doesn't really care about getting caught because it does seem like he's actually trying to escape somewhat here.
Yeah, right? I mean, when and again we're skipping past when they double back through the waterfall, he kind of makes it like, all right, maybe we'll fucking make it through, but if not, like at least we can make a stand here.
But on the other side, he does like, okay, let's now sleep. Like, couldn't they be like, okay, let's push, let's go. We don't want to give them time to have the eagle sitting there and waiting for us. I don't know.
I don't know how much push they had left in them.
Yeah, and you're not fast. You're not going to outrun an eagle no matter what. So you basically gotta go somewhere. You gotta go somewhere they're not expecting.
Under bridges, man. That's what you gotta do. Go in the tunnel.
Yeah. Last ditch effort. Like maybe we lose them through the tunnel, but Eagles right.
Just stay in the tunnel for like a month and just hope that they like. Oh, wow, we lost them.
Eat your horses and stay in the tunnel. So I think the funny part is that we get a little look into John's mind here as he's trying to like interpret what the half hand is doing.
Yeah.
So the first funny thing, I guess, before we get to that, he talks about ghosts. I think the ghost part of it is important, right? Because
he talks about like a little bit of all the wolves. He thinks like if we do die, because he thinks it's the end because of the fire. So like, well, if we do die, I wonder if ghosts are gonna howl like Summer was howling when Bran fell.
And then he says, "Oh no, he didn't say what was her name, Lady." I thought he was gonna. How does he know about Lady?
Yeah, how did he know Lady was dead?
They might have got word. I'm not sure. I mean, he was still at Castle Black when all this was happening.
They sent a fucking letter about the wolf.
I mean, I'm not sure.
This isn't IN. This isn't Facebook Messenger here.
Yeah, you don't just send bullshit.
Whatever.
It's got to be important.
He found out about Lady.
Yeah.
And Corrin, so he sits down. He just has a funny quote that makes John think a little bit. As shy as a maid on her wedding night, the big ranger said in a soft voice, and near as fair. I don't really get it. What's shy about a fire?
He's just saying, I think it's pretty. I think shy as a maid as in like
it's good looking.
Like a maid, like a blushing maid, right? Yeah, just like a cute sight.
Not shy as in like you wouldn't talk to a girl because you're shy.
That's not how I just meant like I don't know, shy and maid seem to go together, like a blushing young girl type thing.
And it just makes John think about Corrin just seems like he's always been a Night's Watchman. Like did he have some runs in with the maid or whatnot?
Just like because we know Corrin's big. He's a big guy. He's like just doesn't seem like the type of guy, and like seems like kind of like
he's a loner, right? He seems like a hard ass, kind of like Stannis, right? In a sense.
Yeah, I get that vibe.
John never got to kiss a maid.
Yeah, he's just like wonders like, he's like, wow, like he says like he's basically thinking like I don't really know much about this guy. Like I wonder like what all he's experienced in his life.
And how we're about to die here together.
We're all gonna die. Yeah. So then they go back talk about what happened. So they left Squire Dalbridge.
That was when they heard the horn, thinking he was dead. He
didn't slow him down.
Yeah.
They tried to shoot the eagle down, but the bird flew away. And then they saw the eagle more and more, pretty much, and the horn getting closer
like days
and closer.
Are going by. Yeah, John's like, I lost track of days. We were basically just going for so long.
Horn's getting louder and seems closer every time they hear it.
Sends Eben off with the extra horse, which proves fatal later on not fatal, but dangerous for Stone Snake later, right?
And here Eben's like, why don't you send John? And he's like, no, he has a different role to play, so
there you go. Yeah. He's already decided here.
Well, at this point, though, is different than back at the Fist before they even leave, right? So at this point, for sure.
Do you think, like, Nelson, to just this point of the theory, that Corrin, had all intentions of succeeding, but this was like the fail. Like, all right, if we fail, like at least we can throw John to try.
And at the very least, he saw that dream, and he's like, okay, I know what we have to do. Like something really is happening here.
They're doing something there.
Yeah, and we're not going to get out of here. So now this is what has to happen.
I think me and Nelson argued about this for a while.
I'm not saying you're wrong, Jeff. I'm saying that's another point.
Well, no,
I guess.
I think you guys are agreeing. I think you guys are agreeing that like at this point, it's definitely Corin's like shit. Everything, even if it was supposed to be like a good mission, let's just go get intel and leave. At this point,
when he's like, this is big.
At this point, they're like, fuck. The best thing we can do is get an inside man.
Get a man on the inside.
Fucked it. Yeah. There's a debate, I guess. The theory debate is, did he plan it from the beginning? I think you would have to go into like a why would he want to do that thing. I don't remember all that, but
sure. All right. Well, we don't have to linger on it. It is interesting to play that he has a different role. What did you think about that, Kyle, when you read that line?
I honestly didn't think much about it. I just kind of was like, okay, and kept going. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it kind of snuck in.
I mean, I just read for face value all the time, so I don't hold that against you.
There's a few other things in this chapter that are like similar to that, and it was making me think like it's pretty cool. I feel like even for you, Kyle, just like to read the same chapter twice back to back sometimes, because I feel like George foreshadows stuff later in a chapter, earlier in the chapter, with like within the same chapter all the time.
I mean, it's like watching a movie a second time, right? Like, I mean, you pick up on all sorts of extra stuff that you're like, ah, shit.
Yeah,
it was right there in front of me.
All right, so they kept walking, and Stone Snake's Shadow Cat popped up on him and broke Stone Snake's horse's leg. So now he's like, well, fuck, what am I gonna do? And Corin's like, all right, you can climb better than any. What was he gonna do? Like, go fight them? Like, just wait to fight them?
No, he was. Well, that was what he wanted to do, I think, right?
That's what he wanted to do. And Corin's like, shut up. Like, start climbing. Try and climb your way out of here and get back to the hand if you can.
Yeah, what's cool is that it makes
fist.
Like,
You're
yeah.
good.
What makes me, fist. What I think is cool about, like, these guys, like, always wanting to sacrifice themselves. Like, Squire Dalbridge, I think, said the same thing. Like, I'm gonna like kill his men. Like, I'll hold him up. I'll hold him off. Like, these guys are going out honorable as fuck. It's like the type of thing like you would make songs out of. Right, but I feel like
nobody gives a shit.
Didn't Mormon tell John like your brother will drink out of jeweled goblets and they'll make songs and you're gonna die freezing, no one ever knowing of your deeds? And like these guys are like the most like seeming like badass. Again, we don't know if they're honorable. Like who knows? Maybe they're raping women and shit like that. We've seen them on one mission
here for stuff like that for sure.
In terms of like willing to put their lives on the line, like these guys are there for it, and it's kind of badass.
The good ones.
Yeah. We don't know if they're good. We don't know much about
I feel like most of these dudes are all right.
They seem pretty good, yeah.
All right, so they do get to eat the horse that broke its leg. So
not just eat, they get to drink it too.
Yeah, interesting strategy.
Mix some blood in the oatmeal. You should, Coach Jeff should get his players to do this before game day.
I mean, I don't know if flying the
some
horse,
blood down.
He's the one that you're going to make Danny eat the heart out of.
Oh yeah,
when you get her pregnant.
That makes me think of the episode of like The Office. Isn't there a part where like Dwight has this like Shark Tank idea for like a cow that you continuously like slice flanks off of and then like let it like graze again and like get healthy and grow back meat? And it's like a never-ending like steak cow type thing. There's definitely that. I didn't come up with that. That's definitely something else. I thought it was The Office, but it seems kind of dark for The Office. So
it's pretty. Yeah,
they would have had to play it off in like a better explanation.
I can see Dwight. I mean, if one person's gonna have that idea, it's gonna be Dwight, and it's gonna be outrageous. They're gonna be like psycho. But
if that's not from The Office and you know what that's from, let us know in the comments.
It's interesting. Just speaking of Stone Snake, we mentioned he might be the one that had the chance here. We don't hear of them like pulling his head out of a bag, obviously.
Yeah, and I think that's the beginning that Nelson was talking about.
Yeah, right. But John thinks to himself as he starts climbing away, he has no chance.
Well, I was thinking Squire Dalbridge as well, right? Like we hear that like they blew the horn and that means they assume Squire Dalbridge is dead, but they only pull one head out of the bag.
Right. Right.
And the only one like showing off the weapon they stole was
Eben's
axe. I mean, Squire Dalbridge probably had a bow. I'm sure he had a sword or something.
Dalbridge is dead, man. Yeah. I promise you.
I just like Dalbridge.
What if Dalbridge just sat on top of that pass and didn't shoot any arrows and was like,
yeah.
All right, I'll let y'all walk by, and then I'm gonna bail. He didn't lose one arrow.
We just got done talking about how honorable these guys are, and you just besmirched him like that. Come on.
All right, so John just kind of hints on what it's been like. I don't know if he knows how many days it's been, but just the companionship of Corrin, and they really haven't talked much at all. They're just kind of walking. But he likes that Ghost. He can feel the closeness of Ghost.
Yeah, but one thing weird. He says he slept, but he didn't dream.
Yeah.
Wolves, nor brother, nor anything, right? Because he had that weird dream about his tree with his brother's face and the wolf last time. But then he has a nightmare in the cave. Later this chapter, like he literally had to dream.
I thought the same thing. I was like, did they leave? Are they far enough away?
Yeah. Or maybe the cave is the special thing that's making dreams happen. I don't know, but
this is the first time he asked him if his sword is sharp.
So this again is
he asked that a bunch.
He has it, I think, at least twice. Yeah, he knows it's coming.
What a great last line. A word for Corrin to go out with, too.
Yeah, it just shows like he's like, it's tough. It's a tough thing to be like ready to basically like walking into that. Like he knows what he's doing. He's sentencing himself to death here via John. And he's just like, I hope it's good.
Don't make it take a while.
Because it's not like he can be like this. Like he has to make it look good, right?
Yeah.
He has to. Yeah.
So we're back by the fire, and Corrin wants to talk to John about his vows. And this is really where we start to learn about his role, right? And I think it's good by Corrin, like, all right, let's say these vows again, just so you remember them and remember the depth of them for what I'm about to ask you to do. So, Nelson, since you're going to cry if we don't read them.
I love them. So, yeah, their voices blended as one beneath the rising moon while ghosts listened and the mountains themselves bore witness. Night gathers, and now my watch begins. It shall not end until my death. I shall take no wife, hold no lands, father no children. I shall wear no crown and win no glory. I shall live and die at my post. I am the sword in the darkness. I am the watcher on the walls. I am the fire that burns against the cold, the light that brings the dawn, the horn that wakes the sleepers, the shield that guards the realms of men. I pledge my life and honor to the night's watch, for this night, and all the nights to come. And I think the important part here is, I pledge my life and honor to the night's watch. Because that's kind of what these two guys are pledging. Corrin's giving up his life here, and John is basically throwing away his honor, becoming a turncloak.
Doing whatever it takes.
For the night's watch. And Corrin kind of gets into that in a second for him, right?
Yeah. And I don't remember when it was. It might have passed, it might not. Like he talks about like, oh, this fire, like if this.
Yeah, I'm gonna have you guys read that one. So right after that, basically John just flexes his hands and he's thinking, this is what's cool, because when he first hears it, John's thinking like, okay, he wants me to be ready to die, right? I think John's thinking like the life side of that. We're ready to give our lives here. For sure.
He's like, remember what you promised. You're coming to a time and it's gonna be tested at the very least.
Yep. And he's like, I hope I can die bravely. I hope the old gods give me strength to die bravely. It would be soon. The horse are getting weak. And then, you guys read this quote. The fire will soon go out.
The fire will soon go out. But if the wall should ever fall, all the fires will go out.
There was nothing John could say to that. He nodded.
We may escape them yet.
The ranger said.
Or not.
I'm not afraid to die.
It was only half a lie.
May not be so easy as that, John.
He did not understand.
What do you mean?
If we are taken, you must yield.
Yield?
He blinked in disbelief. The wildlings did not take captives of the men they called the crows. They killed them, except for...
They only spare oathbreakers, those who join them, like Master Raider.
And you.
No!
He shook his head.
Never, I won't.
You will. I command it of you.
Command it? But...
Our honor means no more than our lives, so long as the realm is safe. Are you a man of the Night's Watch?
Yes, but...
There is no but, Jon Snow. You are, or you are not.
John sat up straight.
I am.
Then hear me. If we are taken, you will go over to them. As the wildling girl you captured once urged you. They may demand that you cut your cloak into ribbons, that you swear them an oath on your father's grave, that you curse your brothers and your lord commander. You must not balk. Whatever is asked of you, do as they bid you. But in your heart, remember who and what you are. Ride with them, eat with them, fight with them, for as long as it takes. And watch.
For what?
John asked.
Would that I knew. Your wolf saw their diggings in the valley of the Milkwater. What did they seek in such a bleak and distant place? Did they find it? That is what you must learn before you return to Lord Mormont and your brothers. That is the duty I lay on you, Jon Snow.
I'll do as you say.
John said reluctantly.
But you will tell them, won't you? The old bear, at least. You'll tell him that I never broke my oath.
Corrin Halfhand gazed at him across the fire, his eyes lost in pools of shadow.
When I see him next, I swear it.
So Jeff, I feel like this is where your Sir Roger quote that you like for Bran.
I'm off to see your father, boy.
I feel like there's a little bit of that in this one because he knows like I'll see him.
He's like,
when I see him, I'll be
he'll
sure
get
to
there
know.
sooner or later.
Yep.
And I'll say it kind of threw me too, right? Like I was as unsuspecting as John still.
Yeah, I guess. I don't recall at all. I definitely knew he was dying before I read it.
Yeah,
so.
well, and it's kind of funny though. Like, yeah, what did I expect? Like that John's going to turn himself over and Corrin's just going to peace out of here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember Nelson the show. Does Corrin tell him that he's going to have to kill him, or does
I think it's pretty similar. I think the scene is pretty similar.
Yeah.
Yep.
He just starts fighting him almost, and John's like, all right, I guess I got to fight back. I feel like John is taken by surprise in the show.
You're right. Corrin might not have commanded.
I don't think Corrin tells him like, hey, you're going to have to go over to them. Like Corrin starts.
I don't think they have.
him.
You're right. I don't think they have a conversation beforehand. I think they're both captured and they're like being like walked somewhere, and Corrin like whispers like,
right,
play
before.
along or something like that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I don't think it's as cool.
I don't think it's as cool either.
This is one of the
definitely
things.
not as cool.
Yeah, this doesn't apply to Kyle, but like this apply like me and you both, Jeff. Like we both watched the show before we read the books. This is something where like I feel like a lot of times it can be boring, right? Like I tell people, I think if you watch the show, getting through the first book. I mean, I love the first book, but I think it's a little bit of a slog because it's like 1,000 pages of stuff you've already know. So, and book 2 starts getting a little different, so it's a little more interesting. But like this type of stuff is the stuff that even if you saw the show, it's kind of like you're on a reread, right? Where you get like some of the gems of a reread.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right. So now that we know John's role, they flame this. They make this fire even bigger, and then Corrin's like, "All right, let's go. We're doubling back."
Yep.
Leads them to the waterfall. The waterfall has like a cave tunnel that's hidden behind it, so they get through there, and then they sleep for the night.
So defile. They go to a defile. I didn't know this word. Game of Thrones word. Jeff, what's a defile?
I would just assume it's like a part where the mountain's a little concave that you could walk under.
It's like a steep-sided narrow gorge or passage. But I think it's named after the fact that like troops have to defile from like a rank and like go single file. Because when I looked up the definition, it literally said in parentheses, such that troops would need to march single file. So I think it's like defile from like double or triple.
It might be right. That's a good guess.
Or it's a Game of Thrones word,
or Game of Thrones word, maybe both.
Well, defile is like to spoil something, right?
Well, yeah, I looked it up. There was a bunch of other definitions of defile before the actual one that George meant here. But yeah, so they go through the cool waterfall thing. It would have been fucking freezing, dude. They're in like north.
So I think, the water right outside was frozen, right?
Yeah.
There's just enough energy for this waterfall probably to stay a waterfall, right? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I guess Kyle's right. The stream that they were walking next to, he said wasn't completely frozen. He could hear the running water.
It was
only the top. Yeah, so it wasn't.
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't super, super cold. But
it's cold.
Cold.
No, it's cold.
You don't want to be wet.
It's colder than hell.
But to freeze running. Yeah, I guess you're right.
But I don't even know.
I guess the idea is because they went so fast through it, like their clothes didn't get soaked, just like their cloak and like the outer layers.
Sure. All right. Whatever. So Corrin's like, all right, I'll take first watch. So John starts to sleep. Ghost cuddles up to him. He does have a nightmare that night. He dreamed of burning castles and dead men rising unquiet from their graves.
Yep. Creepy.
Which, I mean, he already lived. I'm sure there's more to this, but the reason it's being said here at the very least is that we do know this happened, right?
What do you mean?
Well, he burnt Castle Black and the guy was dead.
What?
John. He had to like throw the thing on fire. Like he lit the thing on fire.
Oh yeah, he killed the white.
Yeah,
that's true. He
didn't
burn the whole castle.
I'm sure there's more to it.
Man.
I get that this is obviously bigger than that, but I feel like that's like the red herring maybe.
Yeah.
So they wake up at morning, they eat breakfast, and they walk through. And as they get to the end of the cave, boom! There's the eagle waiting for them.
Yep, did not work. The trick did not work.
And they set up shop and wait for them to come.
So this underground cave is kind of crazy. They do kind of like just walk through it in like a paragraph, but like what the fuck? There's like a cave the entire way through a mountain. They walk for hours down here. That's kind of nuts.
And it's up and down too, like in and out, like they're winding.
The one thing I'm thinking though is like Corin is a ranger. Like if he knows about this thing, right? He's known about it since he was a kid. Like he heard a story about this thing when he was John's age. Like
Yeah, but has he ever been there, or has he just heard of this thing?
I assume this is like a well-known thing, and it's like no wonder the wildlings knew. Like, oh, there's a fire like a half mile from that crazy cool entrance to the underground mountain pass. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, they might have known about it, but I don't know that they.
I would
together.
think that if you're a ranger, right, you come back on every mission and kind of log your deal. You'd be like, all right, like, oh, look what I found here, and like if you're a good ranger, you should study a little bit of what other rangers have found. So if you get caught in a like, oh shit, where should I go for the night? Like, oh, I'm by the Skirling Pass. I should go by through this waterfall and find
that's what I was gonna say. So. Is like this is kind of I'm not gonna say a highway, but like this is a more heavily traveled area in terms of north of the wall, right? Like this is where they would know. Like this is the Skirling Pass.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
So like, I mean, if he's like, at the bottom of it, there's this waterfall, can't miss it. There's a cave behind it.
And Corin, like you guys are saying, he's been around a while. I guess my thing is like, it just seems like the wildlings should know the area like they're from better than the rangers that scout it.
I agree.
Yeah, so that's
I'm
all.
not saying they don't know about it. I'm just saying that I don't think the fire being there.
I mean, the eagle.
Gotcha.
Obviously knew about it. He was sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, they obviously knew about the exit. Yeah.
The other side of the cave is just a cave, like it. So
just a cave.
It's not like a waterfall is hiding that side of it. So
they need a few more exits there, like a few places they could pop out, and they have to split up the 14.
Yeah. So Corin asks again, like, "Hey, is it sharp? All right, bring your wolf close to you." Ghost reluctantly listens, and then they wait for these people to come. And 14 wildlings come with 8 dogs, dog wolves type deals, hound wolves. Yeah. And the wildling is led by Rattleshirt.
Yep. I will say before they give their horses some like food, and I don't know if they send them on their way but they like give the horses the rest of like the grains and stuff. Just gives me, if anybody knows Lord of the Rings, it's a little Bill the Pony vibes. I feel like that's a nod to Bill the Pony.
I don't know what that means. It's a burn the boats type of thing. Like, all right, we're here.
Good horse. Yep, we're on separate ways now. But
yeah, and like you did your job.
Good boy. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so Rattleshirt walks up. Corin and Rattleshirt sound like they've met each other before.
This kind of goes to Nelson's, like he's been around. He's pretty. Yeah. I mean, he knows this random wildling well enough.
I was also surprised when I went to put Rattleshirt in my notes. He was already in there. Like we'd heard about this guy, and when Corin shows up, he like gives a report. Like, oh, because remember Corin encountered.
We heard that Rattleshirt was doing something, right?
All the big raiders or whatever they call them.
Okay, yeah, like the head guys are joining even. Yeah.
And Rattleshirt was one of the ones that was like 3 or 4 or whatever. Rattleshirt was one of the ones. So yeah. But yeah, we've seen the wildlings when John killed him at nighttime, but like this is like we see him like it's ragtag, right? Like large round shields made of wicker and skin. Like I feel like without the arrows and the dogs, John and Corin might have a chance 2v
for sure.
Especially with the Valyrian
just think about like the Moon People, right?
2v14
or the mountain, or were they the Moon People?
It's like the same thing. Exactly.
They had some weapons, but a lot of them were blunted. Like it's
wooden
not like
helmets,
they had good armor,
wooden and leather helmets. Like John's Valyrian steel. That's just wooden.
Yeah,
I think what would have been tough would have been the dogs more than the people.
Exactly,
like they would have been able to chop down easily because it would have been 2 by 2. But like the dogs, just like kind of.
Eagle can pretty much just take a person, at least distract him for a second.
I mean, yeah, Talon, an eagle that is a person, right? Like it knows what to attack on a person.
Yeah, it's like not good.
All right, so the conversation, Rattleshirt and Corin just basically kind of makes fun of Rattleshirt, which is funny. Rattleshirt's like, well, I'm about to fucking add your bones to this collection soon, motherfucker.
Just a little friendly like shit talk back and forth.
Come get him.
Yeah. Corin's like, come on, let's do it. Nah.
And that's where John's like, no, we yield, right? And like,
but he's like, get the arrows, and John's like, no.
It's a little bit curious.
Before that, they pull out Evan's head. Somewhere in there, they pull out Evan's head.
Well, they knew they had no
his
hope
axe, like you said,
word getting back or whatever.
You're next.
A little bit curious that John a couple times acts in reflect, like he says no without him like constantly thinking no, right? And then he also just says later on when they start fighting that he's swinging Long Claw without, like, it was like
Muscle
Long Claw
memory.
was swinging himself.
Yeah.
You know, it's just.
It's a muscle memory.
Oh, it wasn't muscle memory for him to say no and yield, is what I'm saying. Like, he's acting unconsciously a little bit, but I don't know how much we want to go into detail for this conversation.
Well, I think what's cool too is they're mocking it, John, a little bit there beforehand, like a lady.
Oh yeah, I mean, the girl's
hey,
like showing her tits out,
baby? Yeah, it's like, I'm gonna make a cloak out of your wolf, little bitch boy.
Well, and then I mean, they even do it after he says we're gonna yield. He's like, yeah, they warned me, bastard blood was craven.
That's Corin.
Oh, yeah,
that's how
right.
Corin like basically tells John.
Sorry, that was just
like,
me reading
you're
this here.
worthless. Like, you should never been our brother.
Yeah, he's selling it. Yeah, I don't know if that's what you said, but
well, no, it's also when John realizes, right? Like, because John didn't realize Corin was throwing his life away. He thought like, because John says we yield, and Corin's like, nah, but that's not how
I don't yield, brother. Just you. This is where my night ends here.
Yeah. Now my watch has ended.
And then Rattleshirt's basically like, yeah, fuck this boy. Like, we don't need this Craven boy. And then Ygritte comes out from the woodworks like, oh, he's no Craven. He's Ned Stark's bastard.
Because Rattleshirt's not going to take him, like, anyway, right? Which is just like, he's like, no, fuck this guy. Like, I don't trust him. Like, why would we kill him? Just kill him.
I mean, one, he thinks he's Craven. Two, he doesn't trust him.
The Black Crow's a tricksy bird. I trust him not.
Yeah, good line. And then the only reason, Ygritte really has to kind of politic for him to be there. Like, oh, he's a warg. He's Ned Stark's son. He wants to come with us. And they're like, all right.
One of the cool things is every time someone basically talks shit, or not shit, but anti-John, the Eagle's like, bah, bah, bah. Like kind of like Raven, Mormont's Raven is like, yes, fuck yeah, I'm all about like whatever you're saying right now. but doesn't say shit when people are on his side. Yeah.
But this is also right after that is when Ygritte tells him pretty much that's the guy you killed in the mountains.
You killed that
Which
guy.
kind of makes sense, right? Like, how else would they get up there? But or why? Like, they're in an eagle spot, right? They were pretty perched on some weird cliff.
I think we were talking about this in like a previous chapter, and like Jeff and I, like you were saying, like we talk about some of the stuff in the spoiler section where we're like, yeah, like they see the eagle every day, but like how are the wildlings able to use an eagle? And I think you said like, oh, they have wargs, which is like pretty right? It's just like a warg that.
If I said that, then yeah, that's dead on, right?
Yeah, but I'm guessing you thought that it was a warg who was like alive,
like a live warg that was like being carried with them.
So yeah, I mean, he got
he
stuck
flew
in it, right? Because he was sleeping when John killed him, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like,
now we know a little bit of potential lore future on is that one of these characters like Rob might get killed and he turns into fucking Grey Wind for the rest of the next books.
Or
damn.
It's like the lady got killed as Sansa and now part wolf. She doesn't seem it. She's been like crying. And
She hasn't done anything good like that. No.
She's a nice lady.
But,
yeah.
All right. So Rattleshirt's basically like, all right, prove it.
So I don't think it's him. Rattleshirt's like, kill him. No way. No how. Kill him. And someone's like, wait, let him prove it. And John's like, I'll do whatever you want. And Rattle's like, then kill the half hand, you fuckwad.
Are you sure it wasn't Rattleshirt?
Yeah. No, this is the big spear wife narrowed her eyes and said, if the crow would join the free folk, let him show us his prowess and prove the truth of him.
All right. And before John even has a chance, Corin's.
Well, no, you're right in the fact that when John's like, what do you want me to do? Rattleshirt's the one that's like, kill the half hand.
Yeah.
But before that, right, he only says that because the woman speaks on his side. Rattleshirt's pretty much like, kill this one. Kill this one.
All right, so Rattleshirt's like, all right, we're
splitting hairs in Jeff's eyes.
Before John has a chance, Corin's already attacking.
Yes.
And John cheats. John cheated.
Yeah, he had Ghost. Ghost bit him.
It goes to the thing where it's like, it also seems like, so when in chapter 5, when he's like, okay, pick your crew, Corin.
Bring your wolf. He's like, John,
wolf. You're going.
Wolf.
Get Ghost ready. So it's like, some of the theory is like, did he want Ghost to come? Did he know Ghost was going to help out in the end here? I don't know.
I'm not buying that.
I don't know if I buy that either. There's a lot
I think Ghost was just a valuable asset.
I will say, Kyle, a lot of Game of Thrones theories is like Death by 1,000 Cuts, where just throw a bunch of evidence. A lot of it is very wishy-washy, shaky. And just like assume that there's so much, even if it's shaky, that some of it has to be true. Okay. So yeah, that I don't disagree that there's definitely shaky, that's shaky. But yeah, cool little fight here.
cool little fight, pretty quick. Corrin's a badass with
even with the
just
left.
his left hand. He's maybe better with his left hand than he was with his right. And John is a little bit shocked at how quick he is, right? I mean, he wouldn't have a chance. Like it kind of shows
sword.
that without
he also
John,
has a better sword.
And this might be to your point, Nels. Like if these people know how good Corrin Haffen is, he's a legend in the watch.
Yeah.
So for John to be able to best him, it's probably only believable that he would best Corrin if Ghost does bite his
There's
calf.
some interference.
Yeah.
If
Especially because
John's
John's
something
young.
goofy happened. Because 1v1, it just wouldn't happen.
Yeah, John's young. Like people forget, like book readers
John's a
forget
child.
because he's a POV. He's like 15, right? Like he was 14 in book 1, maybe he's 15 now. Like he's not Corrin, like you're saying. He's a
kid,
legend. Yeah. And John's good. He is really good, and he does have a special sword, but he's still a 15-year-old kid versus a legend. So
I mean, it's not a magical sword; it's just a sharp sword.
but it's faster. It's lighter and sharper.
Okay.
So it
And
helps him.
Corrin's a beast. That's what all I'm saying is that to your point is that if it wasn't
fight
if there
wouldn't
wasn't
have
an
worked.
interference, like the wildlings probably like, well, fuck, there's no way he just won that fight. Like this is fishy. Kill John.
100%.
Kill the bastard.
Yeah, because then they think like what Corrin threw. Agree. I think we're in agreement. Yeah. Because Rattleshirt even says like, nah, he didn't do it. It was fucking the ghost did it, or the wolf did it. It's my kill. And they're like, what? We saw how he that's when they start talking back to him, and John's like, damn,
They're free people.
that's the commander. And they're
there's
just saying
no
whatever the fuck they want
governing
to this guy.
No chain of command.
And then I guess Ygritte kind of just like what are we gonna be scared of him because he's a warg? Like we take wargs all the time, and he's Eddard Stark's blood of Winterfell. Like why we'd be stupid to not take him.
It's cool that the way John kills him after Ghost bites him is like just like the very tip of the sword, right? Like just like the very first.
Yeah, sharp.
Clean cut, and he's like sharp. So Corrin got what he wanted. He asked if the sword was sharp. It was sharp. Clean, easy kill. Good death for Corrin.
So they basically take John on, and John's like, all right, where are we going? Back up to the Swirling Pass? And they're like, nope, we're good here. Time to march on your wall.
Mance has passed us. We're the rear guard now. And John's like, wait, what?
Oh, fuck.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
So, Kyle, what'd you think? You said at the beginning you kind of didn't think it was great. I think this is a pretty good chapter. I don't know if maybe if you change your mind a little bit on the second read. Yeah.
I mean, it was cool. Like it was definitely a pivotal moment. It was more of the open end, I guess, than the other ones. The other ones kind of wrapped up a lot of stories. This one really didn't. It wrapped up obviously a chapter, but like a major chapter for John, but it was no real conclusion.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this a little bit more when we go to like the full book thing. But like John, I feel like had a pretty good arc this chapter, right? Like both books. I mean,
he's gaining his place, or earning his stripes, however you want to put it.
Yeah, like the first book, he's basically just being like gets to the wall and is like, I don't like it here. Has all the conflicts of I need to go save my family. My family's in all this shit. And the end, like last chapter is like, no, I'm a Night's Watchman. And then this one is like, cool. Now we're doing Night's Watchman shit. We're going north of the wall all chapter. The first 4 of the chapters lead to the Fist of the First Men. Second 4, he's on a cool ranging with all these legends. Very end. Now you're going over your wildly next book.
Yeah.
So yeah, John just doing everything.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean it's going to lead to some better things, I guess. Maybe more exciting things. I guess I'm slightly disappointed as well that now our time at the wall and the watch is done. Like some interesting plot points are happening there, and
yeah, I mean, just there's a chance every book I think we change a little bit of like Ned died, you got another POV, like Theon became a POV, so there's a chance that maybe somebody becomes more important elsewhere, but
or maybe someone gets sent
doubt
to the
Jeff.
wall.
Like you don't have to talk around that. Like I mean, I assume this isn't all the characters for sure.
Janos Slint is about to get to the wall. Maybe he gets some POVs. He got sent by Tyrion.
Yeah, he was pretty good too. Yeah, maybe Sam.
I like Janos Slint better.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, well, and just to say so that you know that I didn't forget about it, there was that whole bag of dragon glass as well. I don't know what that is yet. I think John has some of it on him, right?
I don't remember.
I would think so too. I'm not sure either.
I think
but I would
took
think
some
he has
daggers or something. I think he said,
yeah, at least arrowheads and a dagger. I think he made a dagger for himself and Lord
His
Commander
buddies.
and probably Sam and maybe Gren. But yeah,
and then I think he finds Benjen. I think Benjen might be alive with Mance's men.
who do we want more to be? I kind of want Squire Dalbridge to be alive more than I care about Benjen. But, like, he's been gone long enough. Like
Well, I think
Benjen's
we know
dead.
Squire Dalbridge a little better than we know Benjen at this point.
We've already assumed Benjen's been dead. Like, just forget about him. Like Squire Dalbridge, though. Let's get that.
No, come on. If you
Well, I
don't,
think that's kind of
if you
the
don't
point,
see
right?
him
Like-
dead, he never died.
That's a Game of Thrones, yeah, for sure.
But like every other like major, like big twist, it's like they make you forget about it. Like Littlefinger showing up, like he wasn't really mentioned for chapters and chapters, and then boom, there he was. So I feel like Benjen has to come back. Is kind of where I'm at. I feel like they're kind of lulling me to sleep. I think he's gonna find Benjen.
Gotcha.
All right.
Like it.
Thanks, Kyle, for hanging out with us. Glow, way to be a loser and not join us.
Yeah, Glow failed us.
Glow.
But we'll see the rest of you guys in the spoiler section. We'll see Kyle in the next one for Bran, the last chapter of Clash of Kings.
Bye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle.
Later, Glows.
Wow.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Bye, Kyle. See you on
Bye,
the next
Kyle.
one for Bran. I think it's 5, but I'm not 100% sure.
Only 5 for Bran.
Look it up. I mean, he
Interesting.
was dead for half the book. Kyle almost, speaking of Bran, we're going to hop right into it. Kyle almost squeaked a spoiler out of me when I'm talking about Jon's nightmare. Oh, Bran 7.
All right, what was the spoiler?
So I was saying, speaking of when when Jon had his nightmare, and Kyle's like, "Oh yeah, I knew what that meant." It's like about the castle, and then the dead guy.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? Do you have any thoughts on Jon's stream? Burning castles and dead men coming from their graves. This is Gibby. I hope you get this. Come on. I thought Kyle was gonna get it.
Did it already happen?
No, but it's very, 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 very close. Very, 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 very close. I mean,
Castles burning?
next chapter starts with Bran warging Summer, seeing Winterfell burning,
okay.
and then Bran and Rickon come out of the crypts.
I thought you meant like another cat. Yeah, Winterfell's burning when Bran and Rickon come out of the crypts, which is where they were hiding, which is where dead men are kept.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it would be surprising if Kyle got that because it's talking about coming out of their graves, but Kyle could have put together like Winterfell is burning and Bran and Rickon are considered dead.
I mean, the one castle that is currently burning is Winterfell. I thought you were trying to make me think like if Harrenhal was burning, I was like, no other castle gets burnt. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
That's what I thought it was. It was
You were trying
Winterfell.
to trick me. You were
I said
trying to
very,
trick
very,
me.
very, 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 like trying to tell you the next chapter.
No, you were trying to make it seem like
You're being
this
a
is
little
Red Wedding. It's the biggest thing that's gonna happen.
You're being
and
a little
it's not.
Jeff
It's
the
literally
Lunk, thick
fucking
as a castle wall.
No, obviously not. All right, shut up. All right, I got one note here because I didn't get to take my notes tonight because I had to read late. But while reading with the deal, all right, let's go to the Night Watch words.
Dope.
All right, let me find my spot. You ready?
Yep.
I'm only gonna read one line. I am the fire that burns against the cold, the light that brings the dawn, the horn that wakes the sleepers, the shield that guards the realms of men. And the big line that I want to bring everyone's attention to, the light that brings the dawn.
Dawn said a few more times in this chapter. I don't know if I got them all, but I found 2 other times Dawn was said in this chapter with Corrin.
He's a Dane. He's a Dane. John's a Dane.
John's a Dane. Let's see. What was one that I have for Dawn? Come dawn, if they have not found us, we'll press on. So that's what Corrin tells Jon once they go inside the waterfall. And then once Jon goes to sleep, has the dream, then he wakes up, and then he takes the watch while Corrin sleeps. Jon sat with his back to the cave wall, listening to the water and waiting for the dawn.
Is he? I feel like I flip-flopped a million times. He's now a Dane. He's a Dane.
I feel like part of what we've talked
And
about
he's bringing dawn.
And again, like we said it at the beginning of the podcast, we've literally talked. We've been recording the podcast on this book for over a year, close to a year and a half. So forgive us for forgetting. But I'm pretty sure that in previous spoiler sections, we've talked about a theory that Preston Jacobs had, or not Preston Jacobs. I think Preston Jacobs' theory is the one that we kind of talked to Kyle about today. That Corran wanted to get Jon captured.
Always playing Jon to get captured.
There's other theories. I should find out who came up with them, or at least who made good videos on them, so I can reference them. But that like Corran Halfhand is Gerald Hightower, right?
Right. We definitely went down this rabbit hole the last time. Probably the last time we talked about why Jon was meant to be on this trip.
Yeah, and I forget why, but I feel like in part of arguing that Corran was somebody else, I was trying to bring up Corran and Dawn references, right? Like Corran came with the Dawn. I think is a quote that happens.
Yeah,
when Corran first shows up.
Absolutely what it was.
So, and again, I forget what the theory even is about Corran, who he's supposed to be for that. That relates to that. But there's a lot of Dawn. You can't argue. There's a ton of Dawn imagery with Corran. And one weird thing that I noticed. That I hadn't thought of any of those theories. A lot of times, like I'll check out a chapter. I know generally what it's about, so I'll look up theories about it beforehand, so that when I read it myself, I can like kind of have an eye for that kind of stuff.
Lookout?
I didn't do that for like a Corran is a mystery person for this one. I'm gonna do some of that stuff before we do the Clash of Kings one, but I knew that was a thing. And right here, the Ranger was leaning away, and for an instant, it seemed that Jon's slash had not touched him. Then a string of red tears appeared across the big man's throat, bright as a ruby necklace, and the blood gushed out of him, and Corran Halfhand fell. So,
bright as a ruby.
Rubies are used to glamour people. And again, we don't know, like Corran's not walking around wearing a ruby bracelet. We would have known that. Like,
yeah. It would have been mentioned a million times.
If this is anything, this is a symbolic thing, right? Because no one claims that he's being glamored. The claim is that he was a knight, like an Arthur Dane. I think maybe Arthur Dane is an option. I'm not sure. Like maybe he was Arthur Dane in his younger days, and he used to use a two-handed sword, Dawn, but then he got his hand fucked up, so he can't use Dawn anymore. So he left it back. And again, I don't know. I don't know if this is the theory. I'm just kind of shooting off the hip with this one.
Dude,
but like something like that is pretty cool. And the whole like ruby necklace thing wouldn't mean he's actually being glamored, right? But like the fact that that's what Jon sees when he dies is just kind of like a hint that this is somebody you don't know, like you don't really know who this person is. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like a symbolic thing to the reader.
Yeah. All right. Before we go on, I just wanted to mention, just because you mentioned the glamour aspect of it. Randomly, these posts have been popping up on a bunch of forms of social media, and it's been, I don't even know where it's written or what it's from, but the one that popped up today was Jamie's last day as a Kingsguard, or like Jamie's last conversation with Rhaegar. Do you remember ever reading about anything about this, or like if Jamie talks about it?
I'm pretty sure Rhaegar. I don't remember where it was from. I mean, I'm guessing Storm of Swords somewhere. Rhaegar. To correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure Rhaegar tells Jaime. Rhaegar's going off to fight the battle, right? He's going off to fight Robert, and he tells Jaime like, "Don't worry, when I come back, we're gonna figure out the whole my father deal, and don't worry, I got something planned." Type basically is the insinuation, right? He like gives Jaime a pat.
So
and it seems like Jaime. It also seems like Jaime and Rhaegar were like kind of friends, or like at least had like a pretty good bond with each other.
However it goes, it's like a Jaime POV about how he was forced to stay back. And like this dairy guy who I think might have been one of the Kingsguardmen was like, "No, you're staying here. Like I'm going." But whatever happens. But it clearly mentions that Rhaegar was dressed for the battle, and his three-headed dragon was rubied up.
Yeah.
Gotcha. It was just funny.
When Jaime,
I read that today.
You're saying that when Rhaegar leaves to go off to battle Robert, he's like noted that he's
already in his gear, rubied up. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So again, it's one of the things where, and George always says he's a gardener, right? So I think that's George planting a seed, and maybe it'll grow, and maybe he'll fucking cut that thing off, or maybe it'll grow, and he'll let that fucking thing grow into the biggest tree in the forest.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a lot of this stuff. That's why you see a lot of threads that seem similar, is because he's just trying. He doesn't know exactly where he's going to go, and he's going to play it out. That's what he said he loved about Fire and Blood. Is they basically just got to like he would write the story and he'd be like, "Oh, but it would be cool if this happened. But it would also be cool if this happened. Which one should I do?" And he would just do both and just say like Mushroom said this and this person said this and then just keep going on and not. And
he said he never had to define or like declare which one was the truth.
Exactly. He said even in his own head, a lot of that stuff, there's just no real answer.
I don't know. Whatever happens.
So, Corrin makes Jon eat blood.
I don't have anything to say. I don't know why he would do that. I don't know the symbolism behind it or what.
So the thing that I feel like most people say about this that I've seen fans talk about is how I think Bran Jojen paste. It's kind of similar to that. Like this, and the idea is the Jojen paste would make him better with magic powers somehow. Like that makes better.
Take on some like green seer stuff,
but again, that's more cannibalism than anything, and that kind of lines up with Arya. There's a part when Arya's at the House of Black and White, and she's eating some food, and she's like, they say it's pork, but I'm pretty sure it's not pork, but I just don't think about it. And it's insinuated that she's being fed people with the hope. And again, like the theories then go with the hope that they know that she has some warg abilities. That's why Jaqen, like, why the fuck did Jaqen care about this fucking 3-year-old girl in the first place? Like, sure, maybe he actually cared that he saved his life, or actually he, you know what I mean?
It's like, oh, he was recruiting. He was out there recruiting.
And we know from the Night's Watch that, or from a Varamir Sixskins chapter. So he's the prologue of A Dance with Dragons, where we basically learn everything we know about wargs. Right, I wasn't surprised that Kyle figured out the warg thing, but that's something we can't.
I mean, that was pretty obvious.
Yeah, but we can't give too much away. Like,
sure.
I think Kyle thinks that that only happened because he was sleeping. Did you get that?
Agreed. I did pick up on Kyle saying because he was asleep, he's now in the.
Which I think makes a ton of sense, and it's kind of cool. But I just want to like let's be careful. Like don't just be talking about.
I'll try my best, but
I'm just a little worried about you now after last week.
Oh,
spoiler,
up.
Jeff. Now I even texted Glow. I was like, man, Jeff had a fucking Glow spoiler in the fucking. I miss you, Glow. Made me miss you.
It was sometimes we need to spoil him every now and again, or he's gonna get bored.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that maybe Jon eating blood porridge was like parallel to that. I think that's what.
I mean, we'd have to do like our little bit of research. Maybe like horse blood.
But it made me think of something different, a parallel to a different character. Somebody.
I mean, like Drogo getting like bathed.
Someone had to drink horse blood last book.
Danny.
They made Danny eat a whole horse heart.
Right.
This is different, but Jon like has to choke it down.
Drogo was spilled on, like horse blood was spilled on him to try and
that was to make his when Danny ate it, that was to make her son strong, and Drogo was for like.
I'm saying it's more so like a thing with horses. Horses may be perceived as strong in taking on their blood. Well, maybe it's just like a true little belief that horses can make you stronger type thing. Horse blood in particular.
So the last thing I had is just kind of like a big theme thing, right? Like this is where Jon kind of becomes very similar to Ned, right? Like the big thing about Ned is Ned sacrifices his honor for like his family for the greater good, right? He tells everyone he has his bastard, probably not his bastard, probably Lyanna's. Everyone knows I like the art. Or
Benjen and Ashara.
Everyone knows I hope that one of the weird theories where it's not R plus L equals J happens, just because I think it'd be more interesting. It would just throw everything that everyone thought would just be like gone to the wind, and everyone would have to reread and like try and figure out the foreshadowing for, you know what I mean? So I kind of want it to be
either way, even if
it's gonna be that,
even if R plus L equals awesome. J is that, there's still going to be the whole Dane side of it that we have no clue. Like there's that whole curveball. Like it's got to matter, right? It can't be. He's not going to forget. George isn't going to be the one that forgets that he did all this Dawn stuff and Misa and all that bullshit. Like there's going to be a reason that.
I mean, we talk about R plus L equals J like it's so obvious, and like it's not even interesting if it happens because like R plus L equals J, but it is not obvious at all. Like I have one of my guilty pleasures is like when I'm like folding laundry or something, I'm always like watching a YouTube video, and a YouTube series I always love to go back to is people talking about their reactions after reading Game of Thrones the first time, or just like any book in the series. And there's no one that I've ever seen that has finished Dance of Dragons and been like, oh yeah, Jon is Rhaegar Lyanna's, duh. Like that is people rereading and like getting symbolism and stuff and being like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. And when you go back and look at it, it's like, okay, kind of like what Kyle's saying, like, okay, it was in front of us the whole time.
There's been a couple times
but it's
where
not
I've been like
obvious at all in the book so far.
No. I mean, there was
through all 5 books. I'm saying
what was there was a point that I brought to you. I was like, oh, it's true. Like I don't even remember what it was, but and you even fought me on it still. So like, it wasn't anything.
I mean, there's been a ton of stuff that, like, again, in hindsight, on a reread,
you're not going to pick it up. You're not
section,
picking it up on the first
just
time,
like,
for sure.
Like, there's one. Give me 1 second. So this is in the first page of the next Bran chapter, right? And this is Bran from Summer's point of view. The smoke and ash clouded his eyes, and in the sky he saw a great winged snake whose roar was a river of flame. He bared his teeth, but then the snake was gone. Behind the cliffs, the tall fires were eating up the stars. So Summer sees a smoke. He's looking at the burning Winterfell, and the smoke that's rising out looks like a dragon, a winged snake.
Okay.
Right? And people say this is just symbolism that a real Targaryen, Jon Snow, was in Winterfell the whole time. There's a lot of like dragon and Winterfell symbolism. A lot of people say like this is one of the big ones. Like there's dragon eggs in the crypt, like all this kind of things. All that really means is Jon is a Targaryen, he's a dragon. Sure. He's the dragon in Winterfell, that kind of thing.
We'll see.
On a reread, it's kind of like, and we say obvious. It is kind of obvious, like the R plus L equals J thing. We are always like the fans of it not being that, but when it's probably that. That was what.
Yeah, I mean, I flip flop I just started this thing saying that he's a Night's Watchman because he's the light that brings the dawn, and he's Lightbringer. Dawn is like I'll change. I'm sure 4 chapters later I'll be like, oh no, he's Lyanna and Rhaegar's.
I think what's cool about this is like just him and the Ned. Like the thing is like whether he's Ned's son or not, probably not. Right. Either way, even if he's a Dane, he's probably Brandon's. So he's probably not Ned's.
Well, the fact that
but he is Ned. Like he is the most like Ned out of any of the characters we see. Right. Like Jon is.
Sure.
Here he does like the Ned thing where it's like you have to give up your honor. Everyone's gonna think you're. And Ned does it twice.
Yeah.
He does it for Lyanna. He tells everyone he has this bastard.
He fathered a bastard, and then he did it for Joffrey.
Yeah, exactly, right before his execution. He throws away his honor. Says I'm a traitor.
I'm a traitor.
I did all this. Yeah, exactly. Joffrey's
the weird thing about,
and he does it for his family both times. And here, Corin's saying you do it for the betterment of the realm.
Right. So the problem with Ned, if Jon was Ned, was that he already lost it. Like he already did the dishonorable thing, and fathered a bastard. Exactly.
If Jon is actually Ned's, it just kind of ruins
him
Ned,
being,
but it kind of ruins the whole like Ned is perfect and he just takes on blame that isn't actually his for his family, pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much like what we think of it, like perfectly honorable, and the only besmirches.
If there's a black and white character, it's Ned.
Pretty much, yes, exactly. And people love him for it, but he's gone pretty quick because they're not as.
But as we saw in like House of Dragon 2, the Starks are the most black and white as it comes, right? Like it was just quoted in the last episode, like, "Oh, Stark's never been one to forget his vows," type of thing. Like,
yeah. And I love all these chapters. Yeah, you're 100% right. Whatever Rhaenyra says, like a Stark's never betrayed his vows, and I've seen a ton of memes of like, I've never met a Stark who went back on her word. Then it just cuts to Sansa like telling Tyrion immediately about Jon Snow being a Targaryen. Like literally a day after Jon says, "You can't tell anyone." Just Sansa like, "Yep, tell him, Tyrion." I've never met a Stark.
Oh, Sansa.
But I just think it's like a cool parallel how Jon is now doing that. He thinks he has to give up his life. He's ready. He's like praying to the gods, like, I hope I can die bravely. He's ready to die. He just hopes he can do it bravely. And what he doesn't want to do, that it's like kind of unthinkable to him.
Lose his honor.
But he does it. Again, not for his family, but.
Sure. So, I mean, kind of cool. For his family. He's got a new family.
And it kind of like you're saying, he's like Ned, and Ned is like one-dimensional, or black and white. Let's not say one-dimensional, but black and white. Jon, I feel like, I've said this before, Jon is not one of my favorite characters. Yeah. I think Theon is a way better character than Jon. Jon is just like Ned. He's black and white. Theon, holy shit, if you're in Theon's shoes,
I'm gonna disagree
I don't think
with you
do everything Theon does.
Jon,
I'll give you your point. I'll give you your point in a second. I think if you're in Theon's shoes and you think of yourself as like, oh, I'm a good guy. If you put yourself in Theon's shoes, it's tough. Like, what the fuck do you do when you get back to Pike and your dad says, no, we're not fucking, who the fuck do you think you are? That guy, the father of that guy you're calling your brother right now murdered your actual fucking brothers. What the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like, sure, you don't go take over
I'm not going to
Winterfell.
argue with you,
You
and
don't go
say
take over
Theon's had it
Winterfell.
easy, but Theon...
People shit on Theon so much, and I'm going to argue this, little spoiler for when we do the Clash of Kings overview, I'm going to argue Theon had the best fucking arc in this whole book, for sure. And I've never thought that before until
I don't
this
know
reread.
I think people liked his arc, even in the show, even though he kind of was a little bit of a bitch at times, and like could have saved the sister, at least fought to save his sister, and like he jumped off the ship.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of moments like that, but him sacrificing himself at the end for Bran, like I don't know if it really made sense, but I think they were proud that he did it at that point. Like he came full circle.
I'm just
He
saying,
helped
like, I feel
Sansa
like
escape. Like there's
not even show, like even in the books, most people at this point are like, fuck Theon, what a scumbag, I hate him. And sure, I agree.
I mean,
Scumbag, hate
to
him.
say that
He
he's a
fucked up.
good person,
he
or
murdered 2 children. No,
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's good. He made very, very bad decisions. But I
did
think,
he have
like,
a tough life? Sure, we can all say that.
there's one thing where George always says,
Did he
like,
have a
the only
conflicted
thing
life? Yeah.
he says, like, I forget what the question is. People, there's like times where people have asked him, are you a science fiction writer or a fantasy writer? And he's like, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. Like, you write about what you write about, and if it's science fiction or fantasy, that's just the window dressing. Right? The house is the story, and the decorations are sci-fi or fantasy. But it's all about like the relationships of characters. But he says more importantly, and I think this is quoted from a Nobel Prize winner, not George, somebody else. George quotes this guy all the time. I don't know the guy's name. I think I'm not going to say it.
Wow, way to get your notes.
But what he says is the only thing worth writing about is the human heart in conflict with itself.
Sure,
right?
I've heard
if you look
that.
at all the
I've
Game
heard
of
that before.
I'm sure I've told you this before. If you look at all the Game of Thrones characters, right? Like Jon has this, right? I think Jon is like you said, kind of more black and white because he's very good.
Sure.
But he has this. He's like, the whole first book, do I go over? I need to go back to my family. No, I'm staying in the Night's Watch. Now here, like, oh, I'm an honorable person. Now I got to break my honor. Like, it's an internal conflict.
I mean,
I just think Theon has the best one of those, best internal conflict in this book. Like,
Sure.
It is. Put yourself in anybody's shoes.
Yeah, no,
Theon's
I'm
the
not going to
worst this
argue
book.
that Theon has a lot of internal conflict, and he struggles with it probably more than Jon because he chooses wrong most of the time, or he doesn't choose against
which
his
kind of makes it
head.
more interesting.
Jon, I will say, is about to be challenged more. Like his relationship with Ygritte and all that. I think that's a cool part of Jon, which even continues to grow him. Like he breaks his honor kind of again because he's still trying to keep his honor.
You know what I think is like? I think George. I love George, and I would love to talk to George about this. I think
Maybe we
keeping
can get him
Ygritte.
on next
I think
chapter.
keeping Ygritte alive. Like, doesn't that make like to your point? Jon always seems to make the right decision, but
Jon didn't have to make that decision because Ygritte died.
exactly. I'm not going to say his path was easier than Theon's, right? Because Theon probably would have fucking left the wall and gone south if his family needed him. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Does that make him a worse person? No. People probably would. Like, if Jon would have done that and he would have done it well, people would have respected and people would have loved Jon still. You know what I mean? If he actually abandoned the wall and became a deserter, none of the fans, would have given a fuck about it. You know what I mean? They wouldn't have liked Jon any less. So, but exactly what you said. Because Ygritte died, Jon really got a cop out and didn't have to make a really critical choice of like, fuck, because even like the wildlings, like even like say like Ygritte just stays super north until like halfway through Dance of Dragons, right? So to the point where like the wildlings and Night's Watch are friends, right?
Yeah,
where they're buddy.
Oh,
and, okay,
here comes Ygritte.
now Ygritte's
walking
just here, walks through the wall. Yep. What does Jon do? Lord Commander, here's my girl. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that would be a fucking interesting as fuck chapter.
Sure.
And I wonder, like, that had to be in George's head. Like, that had to be something he was thinking about. I wonder why he didn't do it.
Well, I think like that's actually
Glow. Let's be Glow here. Glow's gonna say that's just gonna be Val. He's gonna fall in love with Val, and I mean, he already died.
Val's lame. I don't know anything about Val to care about Val. I know Glow gets all hopped up on Val. I don't care about Val at all right now.
You will. I guess the way that the George dealt with that was he just gave Jon a different ultimatum. He gave him the fake Arya, Winterfell, Mance Raider, the Pink Letter.
Yeah.
The pink letter we got the pink letter instead of the egret dilemma.
Yeah.
But we're kind of on a random tangent.
Yeah,
of John
I'll just say one
Theon
more thing about
comparisons.
John and
Yep,
Egret.
go ahead.
I think the show did a really good job of like as Egret is meeting him in that battle, and you can see like John was like, "Oh shit!" Like, all right, like I'm not gonna fight you. Like you could see it in his face. I'm not gonna fight you. Like let's like hug and kiss right now.
You're
And
right.
then-
That's the closest we get to what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, Ollie gets the fucking arrow, and Ollie's so proud, and you can see like John is heartbroken, but now he doesn't have to worry about it now. So like now he's back to being John, the Night's Watch.
I don't.
guy.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There like logically, there's a little bit of relief, but I don't think like in that moment. John feels
definitely
really
not in that
fine.
relief.
Yeah.
But like it's just all right.
But you're
well,
right. That's
gone.
a great scene because we don't get that in the books. In the books, what happens is John he has a fucked up leg because Egret shot him in the leg I think twice, so he like literally can't even walk. So they just put him on a rooftop with a bow during the whole battle of when the Night's Watch attack. So he's just shooting arrows with like a different color feather than everybody else. And then once he walks down and finds Egret's body, he just makes sure that it's not his color arrow.
Yeah.
So he just makes sure that he wasn't the one to do it. But he doesn't like see her die or anything. But you're right. Like the closest thing to what we're talking about, where John has to make that decision between, okay, this is it, rubber's hitting the road, Night's Watch or this girl. It's in that episode 9. What is that? Season 4, episode 9, like Battle for the Wall. It's right there. But you're right, Ollie steals it away from us just like George does.
Yeah. All right. Let's sign off. We're rambling.
Yeah, we're totally rambling. See you guys in the
Bye.
next one.